Hello. It works. Good. So I guess we can start, right? Yeah? Yeah. Okay, so yesterday night, Herman approached me to moderate this panel. I wasn't supposed to be here because the previous moderator couldn't make it in the end. But he did a very good preparation for the panel, so I'm really glad I didn't have to spend the night preparing for the panel. So to introduce our panelists, so it's me, I'm Josef Tětek, run the Treasury Academy. We have Humphrey Simwinga, I hope I get to pronounce all the names correctly, co-founder of Bitcoin Victoria Falls with a background in nuclear engineering. Born and raised in Zambia, Humphrey believes Bitcoin is the great equalizer that will create a fairer, better world. Then we have Ronnie Mdawida, co-founder of Afribit Kibera and leader of the Kibera Bitcoin Circular Economy Initiative with a background in sociology and community development. Ronnie is passionate about using Bitcoin to promote financial sovereignty in underserved regions and empowering communities through social entrepreneurship. And Felix Mukungu, founder of The Core, a Bitcoin education platform in Nairobi, Kenya, focusing on creating Bitcoin awareness through education, content creation, and community building. Felix also provides printing and branding services for Bitcoin-related projects under The Core Arts and Design. I've seen the beautiful t-shirt, Freed, and the Silk Road logo. Very well done. Do you have more of those t-shirts here? No? Okay, so maybe some other time. So to start things off, and we have just one mic, so I'm gonna pass it. If you could please share your personal journey into Bitcoin and then into Bitcoin education. What motivated you to get involved this way?
Good afternoon, everyone. So my personal journey of into Bitcoin, it's I could say it's a thing of necessity because I'm from Zambia, and for the longest period of time, my country has been experiencing double-digit inflation. So year by year, the standard of living of people is declining, and a lot of people don't understand what's really happening. Yeah, so how I discovered Bitcoin, it was initially in uni. So I took an interest to look at the financial market just to study it. And I had an interest to invest, to start investing. So I was looking at the US market basically because it's like the fastest growing market in the world. So I wanted to put a bit of some money, start putting a bit of some money in the S&P 500 and maybe the Magnificent Seven. But I discovered that for a Zambian, it was practically impossible to invest in these companies. So I was extremely frustrated. And then that's when Bitcoin came into the picture. So for me, Bitcoin, it was something like, I could say, something that leveled the playground. And I was really excited about it. And ever since, I've only gone deeper and deeper into it. So that's been my journey on it.
Thank you. My name's Ronnie Mdawida from Afribit Kibera. I was introduced to Bitcoin by my co-founder in 2019 or so. And since then, we plugged into Ivan Tech Academy. He made me do, or rather audit the course before we onboarded any students for learning. So I had to audit the course, the Bitcoin 101 course. After that, we started with about 9 students who later grew to 15, but then we had to get them laptops. And he was there throughout the journey. They would do modules, but then he would follow up with mentorship sessions over the weekends for almost a year, since it was very technical. But we had to learn even the deeper technical terms of Bitcoin then. And that was what came to be the birth of actually the Afribit Kibera. And our interest in that came about in the issue of financial inclusion. We had worked in the community of Kibera for over 15 years and a lot of recurring challenges. Financially, specifically for the youth segment that we are targeting was the issue of financial inclusion and the KYC and the no IDs issue. So we thought Bitcoin offered the right opportunity, and that is how we got to start Afribit.
All right, thank you. I'm Felix. So my journey is actually I was scammed, seriously, and so after that, I kind of went back to start like digging deep into what this thing is. You know, like for the first time, I was told about Bitcoin in 2022. And then it wasn't actually Bitcoin, it was a project on Ethereum, right? But then there was something unique in that because I have never had like a financial background, right? But then after that, we could be able to transact. Even though it was a scam project, we were able to like to transact without really creating a bank or needing to register for a bank or any way that we're used to M-Pesa. So beyond the scamming, like I saw this kind of technology that we've never seen before. So that was actually the first time I heard about digital currencies, right? So I thought that, all right, so I've been scammed, but there's something more beyond what I was told in terms of making money. So I went deep into this YouTube. I watched a lot of series, the Sailor series, actually on repeat, read a lot of articles, listened to a lot of podcasts. And then I said, okay, so if this is this is the information that I have, how is it possible that we can prevent other people from get themselves being scammed because of the wrong information that they are told about, although this technology is so good. And now, after going through all those videos, articles, I thought, okay, let me build a platform that can educate people about Bitcoin. So that time I didn't know, I wasn't a Twitter person, you know, it was difficult to get information. I developed a curriculum known as the Understanding Bitcoin. So from the Bitcoin white paper, it had 9 chapters. So all the way from the history of money to why Bitcoin, right? So from that, it wasn't a curriculum with notes in it. It was just getting topics, few topics on what we are supposed to discuss. I used to reach out to people on Twitter. Today I want to talk about Bitcoin, introduction to Bitcoin. Can you prepare slides, blah, 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 and come to talk to my students? So we were doing it casually on Google Meets and that. And then I met my Premier Bitcoin guys. After now becoming a Twitter person, involving myself in maybe doing tweets and all that. And they had a curriculum ready. So it made it easy for me to kind of now educate people following that curriculum and making these resources available to people. And then we now made it official that the course is about Bitcoin education. We run the online program and meetups, and then community building, and now content creation. Is just about making this information accessible to everybody easily.
Amazing. Thank you. So, in your experience, what makes Bitcoin particularly relevant to African communities, and what are some of the success stories maybe that you have seen in terms of Bitcoin adoption in your communities?
Yeah, so I could say what makes Bitcoin relevant is, as I mentioned, we have, for the longest period of time, we have been experiencing double-digit inflation, and right now it's at 16% official inflation in my country, unfortunately. 16%, yes. Yeah, so we know Bitcoin is a savings technology. Yeah, so automatically that it qualifies its relevance in that direction. But not only that, we have this thing in my country, a lot of financial companies don't work. For example, PayPal is limited, and Google Pay works, but it's also limited. So it's really hard to transfer value, and cross-border payments are extremely expensive. So Bitcoin in our communities, just from experience, is like I would say its relevance is self-evident because people with it were able to send cross-border payments, savings technology, were able to save in a money that no one can corrupt, and it's just making sense. I think that's what I would say.
I think for me, I would say Africans are probably some of the most hopeful people in this world. And this kind of offers them practical hope in terms of like saving. But the fact that people from these low income areas or the informal settlement areas can receive, can send, and can save in Bitcoin, that is really giving them power, like, of sovereignty and inclusion, and no one is controlling that. So it gives them that power and freedom that a lot of communities in Africa sincerely long for in terms of finances.
Yeah, so for me, it's about empowerment. A lot of people, quite frankly, if you haven't gone through maybe finance or financial education before, you don't come from that major, a lot of people don't really know what's the problem. They don't even know what is money. They know, okay, they are buying things expensive, maybe by just looking at what they used to buy, the price of whatever they used to buy 5 years ago, and now it's expensive, and they are thinking it's bad government, all right? And people are like, we want to vote this out, we want to vote this in with the hope that maybe things will change, but things don't change. So it's about empowerment that through Bitcoin, we can have, especially the youth, have the hope to build things on Bitcoin. Once we have the Bitcoin as a network, not just the currency, in the native currency Bitcoin, but at least with the Bitcoin network, there's that empowerment of, for example, entrepreneurship, right? Geyser Fund is there, right? People are building on projects, people are being donated to. It's very kind of hard to actually get financial help as a youth. You just can't walk into the bank and say, yeah, I have this idea, please give me some money and I want to run it. So it's difficult. So it's more of empowerment. And from the core, the core is majorly focused in Africa, but it's global. We have some students coming in from other parts of the world, joining our online program. And you look immediately if somebody is graduated, some of them go into venture into their own projects. For example, a graduate from the core, started Bitcoin Nairobi, a graduate from the core. We have a very new project known as Bitcoin Kaka, people getting employment. For example, we absorb some of the graduates, and for them, they start to realize, oh, so it's not just about the money part of it. We can actually transform or have our skills and put on top of Bitcoin and actually earn Bitcoin. But even more than earning Bitcoin, there's now hope to build stuff on Bitcoin.
So Felix mentioned that you had this experience like with a scam early on, and so I've heard you can encounter quite a lot of scams, and it's not just in Africa; it's basically everywhere. So how do you? And I would imagine there's a lot of skepticism if you approach people talking about Bitcoin, because for some people, Bitcoin is basically thrown in the back of various kinds of scams. So I would imagine there is a lot of skepticism. So how do you overcome that, and what's your experience in terms of just scam prevention, let's say, in the communities?
Yeah, so in my community, there's a history of crypto scammers, basically. So what they do is they go to people and tell them that if you invest in our coin or our platform, you'll be able to earn yields weekly, maybe 10% or 20%. And the thing is that most African countries, people don't have extra income sources. So it's like when they come with such an offer, it's extremely enticing. So a lot of people have been hurt. So usually, I would say the only thing that we try to focus on is education. So we say, okay, these are Ponzi schemes and there's Bitcoin, and you don't need to invest money into anything. You don't need to buy anything or packages and anything. There are many utilities. You can use it as a savings technology. You can use it as a payment, just a payment network. You don't need to invest basically in anything. So it's a big issue, and to be honest, it has something that has kind of stands in a way for most people embracing the technology.
I think just to amplify on what Humphrey said, that is recurrent in almost all the communities. And you will find, even in the informal settlements, there have been people who have been scammed in the name of, Bitcoin scams. They are saying they were scammed. It was Bitcoin, but it was some crypto stuff. And a lot of them would say, I honestly don't want anything to do with, anything to do with Bitcoin or anything like that. But with persistent education and showing them the difference, that has made us, like, realize some positive steps. And a practical example is you will find quite sophisticated or fairly educated youths from the slum. And I remember this incident because we were doing a session with the students, and this one student was like, yes, I know about Bitcoin because we meet every Saturday and we give some money and it is converted into Bitcoin, and we have someone who stores that Bitcoin for us, And this is someone who is fairly educated, and I'm asking him which platform, but he really doesn't know the platform. He didn't actually know you could have a wallet, your own custodial wallet, and have your own Bitcoin and stuff. So there are people who take that advantage. But again, with education, you'll find those kind of aware of, though some of them who feel they are more educated. Actually, the more educated you are, the most likely you are to be scammed because you feel you know it all or you know more. Yeah.
Yeah, so Bitcoin educators actually act like therapists, it's, you see very popular people and they know about Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden probably they are very popular and they have a lot of influence. They are launching something, a coin out there, and people know he's a popular person, he's a rich person, and then it's kind of hard for people, for us as a small platform was just starting to kind of have a very big influence on saying that, okay, this is different, and this is different, but then as a platform of Bitcoin education platforms, we have to be very loud on saying it's Bitcoin only. Even on social media as a person, not even as an education, as Bitcoiners, it's about being loud and not really entertaining any of this or keeping quiet about these projects that outside Bitcoin. Like even if you come to our WhatsApp group, which is open for everybody, on Telegram, we don't have any room for anything to be posted. So it's more of creating awareness that, all right, we have Bitcoin, and then we have every other thing. So we have to be very, very loud on it's Bitcoin only, and of course the education is a very gradual process. You come, a lot of people come, and then you have to, the very first class, tell them, I know you've tried 1, 2, and 3, but you have to unlearn what you've learned first. Let us tell you about Bitcoin, and consistently direct them to the path that it's only in Bitcoin you can build a long-term project. It's very hard for all of these projects that you've seen people building on other projects. You can even give them examples. They have only lasted for 3 months, 4 months, somebody's doing this, the next month somebody's doing this, the other month, because they are collapsing, right? So you just have to keep on telling them it's only in Bitcoin you can build some. So you start to prepare as early as now, get a skill in Bitcoin, and actually build something. If you want to build a long-term thing in Bitcoin, you have to build a long-term thing in this space. It has to be Bitcoin only. So it's more of creating awareness that Bitcoin is the only coin to deal with.
Thank you for this. So next, I'm curious about what's your proven, let's say, orange pilling tool, or whether it's some practical demonstration. And I can give you some examples. So when I basically the first time I was in Africa was in Ghana in 2023 for the first Africa Bitcoin conference. Also the first time I met with Herman, and with Herman we were on the beach in Accra. And he was just trying to get the guys. There were basically souvenir sellers and fishermen on the beach trying to sell us some stuff. And he said, I don't want that stuff, but I'm going to pay you in Bitcoin, or I will just only buy it with Bitcoin. They were very skeptical because they thought it's some kind of scam. So we showed them you can buy the airtime on Bitrefill, and within a minute you have something real that you can use. So that was very powerful, how well it worked. In our program in Trezor Academy, I like the demonstration in the form of online sheep feeding, where you can buy the feed for the sheep. In Czech Republic, it's live streamed. And that also really clicks with people because you can perform a cross-continental microtransaction without any intermediaries, and something immediately happens, and you can immediately see it. So I'm curious, what's your like proven basically tool to like really get people interested and see that this is really something real?
All right. So for our community, I think we have like 3, I would say, more or less proven method that we use. So the first one is the long-term method. This is where we teach people about the problem that the world has, the money issue, our fiat money. So we teach a course, My First Bitcoin. So for those who are familiar with the course, it starts from the root where the money is coming from and where it's broken and how to fix it. Yeah, so this has been like the proven long-term method that we use. Yeah, and the second one is, I think, Femi. For those who know Femi, he talks about buzzwords a lot. Don't use buzzwords. So when we are approaching local people, we try to avoid words like fiat, inflation, the metrics, something like that. Yeah, so what our approach to is usually when we meet a local, we say, okay, what is the food that you usually eat? Yeah, how much was it last year? How much is it today? And then they will yell, okay, it's becoming expensive. And then from there, we try to build, okay, this is the problem, this is how we can fix it. And the only thing that seems to be the solution is Bitcoin. Yeah, and then from there, it becomes a bit easier. And the last one, of course, is you mentioned the practical side usually. So where we do our meetups, in our community, there's a restaurant that accepts Bitcoin. So after our meetups, we like sharing some sats with new people. And then from there, I say, okay, you can go and buy water, go and buy a drink. And the idea of Bitcoin being a scam, it kind of like evaporates at that point. Okay, I can actually buy little things. And then with Bitrefill also, it helps because someone can easily buy talk time. And I feel like these 3 methods have been the most effective in our community.
I think for our journey, it has been quite varied. As much as it was earlier, yes, you would give people maybe some sats when you're orange peeling them. And it was more in terms of store of value and not as a means of exchange. So what they were doing mainly was maybe reaching out to those who had some education or wanted maybe sort of like a peer-to-peer mechanism to try and exchange those sats for something. Because yes, there were platforms then like Paxful, which could show them practically like, you know, this is a means of exchange and you could practically use it. But we were mainly pushing it as, you know, as a store of value then, because we didn't really have many options. But as the technology improved, Lightning Network, you know, started coming up, and we were starting to get some merchants. Yes, they could still buy stuff from the merchants, but they were kind of feeling maybe this is sort of like prearranged, you know, something like that. And it was too good for them to be true. Like, you know, first of all, the transaction cost. Secondly, the issue of like the fees, they were really, really like low. But then later on, when things like, you know, like Tando, which came though recently, you could actually see now they're like, so you guys are, you know, this is genuine, yeah. You know, it's just because we trust you guys, but we've always had some reservations. But then they start seeing the value in it and the value that it has been appreciating. And the more education is pumped into the, you know, this law of scarcity and stuff, they are able now to connect deeper. It was hard to connect it with inflation initially because these are very low-income people. Yes, they do hear inflation, and for them, inflation is every day. But until they happen to see it, and the conversation is changing in a way that they're starting to see, like, this could be a portal for my kids' savings in future, and something like that. So that is the only practical way I can see how we've been able to apply it.
Our biggest orange filler tool has been the Bitcoin diploma. Shout out to Premier Bitcoin. The curriculum, I mean, for the 5 cohorts, we have 195 graduates. First cohort, we had 12. Second cohort, we had 32. Third cohort we had 48. Fourth cohort we had 42. And then the fifth cohort, which was the most recent, we had 61 graduates. So the curriculum itself, the way it's designed to talk about the history of money, all the way to why Bitcoin, it's very good. It kind of takes people throughout the journey of the understanding what the problem is before telling people about Bitcoin. So the diploma is very good, and of course those people who are using it on the Lightning network, which is part of the Premier Bitcoins program, it's a good curriculum to use. Second, we have the Bitcoin Pathfinders. It's a program within the core that we try to make a continuous thread about the success story of our graduates. So for example, if you're a graduate, and you're starting a project, for example, Palab from India graduated in cohort 1. He's running Zanghoti, which is a grantee of Human Rights Foundation. And that was a success story. You write about it. You write about Palab, cohort 1. Then cohort 2, we have a couple of guys. Also cohort 1, we have Gaylord, who is part of our content creator team. You write about it as a continuous thread. And we have like Africa Bitcoin Story, a graduate in cohort 2, started that project in Nigeria, Destiny Smart. We have written about it, right? In cohort, same cohort, we also have Aziz from Afghanistan, started Bitcoin Kabul. We wrote about it. So any success story from the graduates, we put it in this continuous thread with the hashtag Bitcoin Pathfinders. And as soon as people enroll to the course, we give them that link. This is what we've been doing. It has worked, right? So if immediately they know this is something that works. So at least if they couldn't pay attention for the 10 chapters of the diploma, they have that mindset already that, oh, if you go through the diploma, you can get. So third, we do an exercise for every cohort. We group the students into 10 when we learn about the Lightning Network, right? So you know the core is global. So so we have students in different countries for that particular for these groups. So we do I send 1,000 sats from first students who sends to the second students and to the third students. So they just give their Lightning addresses, all right? So and then the students shout from where they are that they have received sats, right? So for example, Felix sends to Ronnie online. They send online. So hey, I'm from Kenya, sending to Ronnie in Malawi. Ronnie gets the sats. Hey, I'm Ronnie. I've got the sats. I'm sending to Humphrey in Nigeria. So this is how fast it is. And now the most recent tool is Tando. The guys from Tando are here. It's very easy to tell people, okay, I'm sending you sats. Go and check. Go and pay anywhere M-Pesa is. Their shop, the vendors have M-Pesa, so they know it's real money.
Amazing, thank you. So what I want to discuss next is the potential language barriers to learning about Bitcoin. And I'm just curious because there's a lot of resources in English, maybe even too much nowadays. And how is it in your communities? Do you need to sometimes communicate Bitcoin education in some other non-English language, and are there sufficient resources?
Yeah, so language barrier is a real issue in Africa. I could say in our community in Zambia, in general, we are lucky enough because our official language is English. But we have got 3 major languages, Bemba, Tonga, and Nyanja. So we have got the elderly who most of them, they never really went to school. So for them, it's really hard to penetrate and teach them Bitcoin in English. Yeah, but we did something recently. We formed a Bitcoin translation team in our community. And these guys actually were able to translate my first Bitcoin, the workbook, into 3 major languages. So we're excited about that. Barriers will always be there, but I feel like Bitcoiners are people who are looking for solutions, and yeah. So that's it.
I think for the community that we work in, the language is mainly English and Swahili, but you'll find most people will be understanding Swahili. So depending on the trainer would actually be reading to translate, because most of the material is in English. So they would be translating into Swahili, on the spot. Yeah, they would be translating on the spot. And one thing that we found out was, yes, the books are printed, but very few people, like actually we did realize who would go back and start reading, unless you have a session and you're going physically, bit by bit with them. But in most cases, the educator would be translating, on the spot. This is specifically for the community that we work in. Yeah.
Yes, so for now the code does English because of the nature of the platform, but when we are doing like a physical meetup, and that's when we have Sheng in Kenya, we have Kiswahili, then we have Sheng, and then English, right? But sometimes it's kind of even difficult to educate somebody about Bitcoin in Kiswahili. It's some of these terms, it's difficult. You'd rather just do it in English, and you can try and make like practical examples. The way in my experience, the way I teach and make like practical examples, by that I mean like not really translating what the book says sentence by sentence or word by word, but it's just kind of after making like teaching about something, you kind of give an example, something they can relate on. All right, so for now it's just English, but again, these are some of the projects that we are looking up maybe to bring in later, if there's so much need, when we realize, okay, this is something that's missing, we can see how to kind of include people who can't really maybe understand in English or Swahili.
Great. I think let's do last two questions, then maybe if somebody from the audience, I don't really know what time we have left, but the question I really want to ask, and this is really good, how can the global Bitcoin community better support African educators and grassroots initiatives? Because Bitcoin in Africa is getting talked about quite a lot. I think one of the main catalyst in that was Alex Gladstein in his book Check Your Financial Privilege, and the HRF and the Oslo Freedom Forum, and basically this group really brought the topic to the Western Bitcoin community. So a lot of people are interested in just supporting Bitcoin educators in Africa, but so what's the best way to actually do it?
So I think for me I could say, looking at the problem that we have in our community, I feel one of the main ways that the international community could support is because in our community we have got the issue of on-lamps and off-lamps. We don't have a lot of good wallets or software which helps people. Recently we had Strike, Jack Mara's Strike, but it's not fully functional. Yeah, so I feel like one major thing that they can do, if possible, because just if we're being honest, we have got coders in Africa, but you can't compare. Anyway, that's my opinion. If I'm just trying to be realistic, of course we can teach them, yeah, but better coders, mostly they are in Europe and in America and all. So I could say if they can help, I think creating better user experience for Africans could be a huge help. And another way, of course, is through organization like HRF. They have already been supporting grassroots projects like what they have been doing. I think that those are the two main things that how they can help these projects.
I think from what I've seen, and also with so many others, is some of these education sessions probably do cost. For our case, we probably have an edge because we have a community, and we could plug into sessions that are ongoing and events that are happening in the community and get to talk about Bitcoin, or maybe you'll be given a 30-minute session to do education around Bitcoin. But you will always need those sats, even if it is worth Kenya 100 shillings to tell someone, hey, download Blink, here are some sats, this is how you can Tando, this is how you can do this. That practical session always have more value. So I see a lot of educators actually, sometimes they like that support, and you find you have to be very innovative to find other ways of sort of how you will go about it. But the issue of resources for educators, I know it's a challenge. There's a time you'll call maybe Felix like, hey, there's this group here, it needs a session, this one needs a session. It's 40 people, so you're thinking, oops, okay, those are 40 wallets to download, and they even don't have internet, so you have to hotspot them and download them and then show them practically. So that's another issue. Maybe equipment and some few resources will help a long way.
Yeah, so for Bitcoin education, for example, the online program, we reach out to educators. So every cohort, we have like 6 teachers, right? So we reach out to people, and the biggest thing I can say, the biggest support is, if you know a Bitcoin project that's a genuine Bitcoin education project and they reach out to you, we need teachers, right? Like even the core or something in any other project that's running educator, we need more educators. So we are looking so much into the opportunity of starting an educators program, so that at least, what we've been doing before, after somebody graduates and they really are interested, for example, Palab from India graduating for cohort 1 has been a teacher in the last cohort and also in this cohort. So we try as much as possible to, if an education program is running somewhere, if they reach out to, or even you can facilitate, or you just realize they need maybe the kind of support, just go to them and tell them, hey, here I can help with education. I can do if you're using the diploma, I can do 2 chapters, for example. I can do why Bitcoin, or I can do introduction to Bitcoin, or how problems lead to solutions. So you can really come in as an educator if you have this background knowledge about Bitcoin. You don't have to have a history of being a teacher before. It's just a matter of, I understand this concept and I can help. If you're using the diploma, the slides are available. People can just come in as an educator too. We have a guest speaker program. So most of the time, actually, like the guest speaker programs, we have 4 guests. The first guest comes to talk about Bitcoin and economics. The second guest talks about Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. The third guest coming to talk about Bitcoin and mining, i.e. energy. We kind of don't just focus on the mining. We bring in guests and try to request if they can talk beyond just the mining. And the fourth guest, Bitcoin and human rights. And all of these guests are Bitcoiners that we reach out. I reach out on Twitter or something. So if you have expertise in an area, you come in as a guest speaker to a Bitcoin education platform and do that, right? In our Telegram group, we have a topics, resources, education resources topic. All right, so this is where we allow any kind of stuff, and we've tried so much to open source all of these resources on our GitHub, right? So because I realize the major problem that we've had, people are having, is the information about Bitcoin is out there, but it's not the right information. So people kind of struggle to get this actual information that will lead them to the right path. So as an education platform, in any case, you get hands on a good article from the Telegram group, just drop the link, right? So it doesn't have to be me, it doesn't have to be one of the core team. Join this. If it's a program, it's open to everybody. You can join in and help these education programs to get real good information about Bitcoin and share with them. Most of them, once it's dropped there, some of our students quickly go through it, and that's it. Yeah, of course, the donations again, most of the time Bitcoin education is underappreciated. So Geyser is a very powerful tool. It's a very, very powerful tool. So if there's a project, and sometimes people are really, we didn't go to school about administration. So people are struggling with how to actually raise funds or write a very good profile on Geyser so that somebody understands exactly what your projects intend to do. And it's very hard to raise funds from that. So if you have an idea on how to actually write a good proposal, how to create your profile, you can reach out to a project and say, hey, I've checked your project on Geyser. You might change this and this and this so that people can see it as a good project and maybe have a reason to donate. So you don't, even if you don't donate, try to help them have a good proposal or a well-put proposal out there. Also, platforms like HRF, they're doing so much to help grassroots education and also open SATs. So Val and Milford from Haiti. They graduated in cohort 3 from the core, and they started Yes Bitcoin Haiti, and they are grantees of HRF and both HRF and OpenSats. So those kind of big projects that are coming in to give out grants to support education, that's another way. So if we can have more of these projects that can support financially, that will work, because again, these platforms are coming in so many, and so soon enough HRF will have like tons of applications. OpenSats the same. So we can have more of these platforms that really can look into supporting financially.
Brilliant, thank you. I'd like to ask if there's any question from the audience. We have Bitcoin educators from Kenya and Zambia here. You can ask. Yeah, Jason.
I was just curious what was missing from Strike that you guys need that they didn't offer.
Yeah, so what's missing from Strike is to verify your account, you need a passport. Yeah, so I could say, I don't have exact numbers, but I would say less than 20% of Zambians have a passport because they only have a national ID card. So it's a big issue, so yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So maybe give it some thought if you still have some questions. Last chance to raise them. And as the closing question is, what's one piece of advice regarding Bitcoin education in Africa that you would leave the audience with, like both here and online?
Yeah, so what I would say is I've seen a lot of Bitcoiners at the conference, many faces that I've never seen before. So my advice would be, if wherever you are in the world, wherever you live, I think just start a meetup. I feel like if every Bitcoiner in the world started teaching family, friends, I feel like we can hit Bitcoinization in the next 3, 4, 5 years maybe. So wherever you are, just start with 3, 4, 5 people, meetups. I think this is the thing that we need.
I think for me it's collaboration and learning best practices. I think we can avoid a lot of maybe pitfalls in our areas of focus where we're going if we can learn from each other in different aspects. Probably one area would not make a mistake maybe that they would have been able to avoid.
A lot of people like to ask the question, what's your prediction about Bitcoin future price? And I answer that question with a question, how many people are you willing to have them understand Bitcoin? It's not obvious. People say you don't answer a question with a question, but I mean, it's about the numbers. You know, we want people not to just transact Bitcoin, but have a reason to ask why they want to hold that Bitcoin, right? So that's why I keep on saying, no matter what, we have the Bitcoin network. The next layer is the education, right? So the Bitcoin is the network. It has come to fix the fiat system. Fiat is a system, Bitcoin is a network. So the reasons the word is the network is the number of people that understand Bitcoin as it is, right? You wouldn't come here as a speaker at a conference because you know how to send and receive Bitcoin, all right? You must have some background knowledge. You wouldn't build Tando because you know how to send and receive Bitcoin. There's something, it's knowledge-based. So as soon as possible, get somebody to understand Bitcoin. We don't need like to rely on the education platforms. And if you're looking to start an education platform, just start. I mean, the core started from a WhatsApp group. Right now, for those who know the core, it's doing great, all right? So you don't need to wait. You know, like it's Bitcoin network, there's a lot of books written on how to grow something, but the best solution I've realized is the experience that you grow with it. For now, like this cohort, we had to like say, hey, stop. We can't take any more registrations because of the scaling problem, right? So you realize these things while you're doing it. You don't read about them, right? So another thing, we also plan to start like the core community Bitcoin community network, and I have like most of my meetings are not how to get donations. Most of my meetings, how am I doing it? So the advice also to people is if you can just reach out to somebody who has been running an education, they will help you a great deal. You don't have to go through these kind of difficult procedures to have actually run a Bitcoin education platform. Some of them have like the best advice they can give you to make it simpler as you start.
Great. Last chance to raise a question if you have any. Yeah, we're just ending. Thank you. So no more chances. So just as a final reminder, you can follow these gentlemen's projects. From my left, Humphrey, Bitcoin Victoria Falls on Twitter, right? We can find you. Ronnie, Afribit Kibera, also on Twitter, right? And Felix, The Core, also we can find it on Twitter, right? All right, so please follow these gentlemen's projects. Lot of stuff happening. Thank you very much. Thank you for thank you for being here. Thank you.